Available to give that, you are available to give that speech. I will prepare or I will arrange a slot for you in our next or upcoming speech that hits between the days that you want to give that speech. For other clubs as well, what I do mostly so far is I've had Dedo reaches out to me. Albert, I have this week and next week. I would like to give a speech in between these days, and she would tell me this particular date she wouldn't be available, so she wouldn't want a slot during those days that she has set for me. So I'll reach out to other clubs. We have a VP account, so I can put it in there. But I do have some people, other members, the VPs of other clubs who I'm directly in contact with. So I'll reach out to them and say, hey, I have a member who wants to give a speech. And then the person would tell me, oh, they do have a speech slot in their upcoming speeches. So I get a number of them, probably 2 or 3 slots. Then I present it to Dedo, and Dedo will choose the one that is most favorable to her. When she gets it, she also considers the time as well. That is how the time would favor her. So I've had her speak at EcoBank before, and I think recently she was trying to get one, but her timing wasn't favorable for her at that time as well. So you just reach out to me. That's the first stage. And then from there, I will reach out to the VPs. I would also liaise with you about the times that will suit you best and the days that will suit you best. And when I get that done, I will present a number of slots from the VPs after contacting them, and you will select the one that you want. When you do, after doing that, I will leave everything in the hands of the VP. So the VP of that club would directly contact you with respect to who will be evaluating you, who you are supposed to send your evaluation resource to. And also she would also send you further information, the club details, the link, and then the time to that particular meeting. So that's how the process goes about. And for your own club, you don't have to go through all those processes. You just reach out to me, and then I will prepare a slot for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So in summary, if you are delivering a speech in your club, it's very easy. Just contact your VP, TM Albert, and you'll be slotted on the agenda. If you need to deliver a speech outside the club, you still have to contact him, and he would get you the various meeting days or vacant slots in other clubs and present them to you. Then the VP of that club will directly communicate with you on the details of the meeting. Now, I would invite Presido, if Presido is able to speak, I would want you to briefly touch on the evaluation resource, that is the evaluation sheet that we use in a club meeting, what the evaluation sheet is meant for, and who do you give it to, and so on. So kindly help us on that.
Okay, thank you very much, AD. Good morning once again, everyone. This is a very helpful meeting. I'm happy to see Renee, Fosua, Esther, and Karis on the call. Fumaya as well. Fumaya, you have been missed. Welcome back. And yes, Albert, Carl, thank you for joining the meeting. So regarding evaluation resource, when you go onto your portal, as for everybody who was present at the meeting on Sunday, you remember that AD took us through the Toastmasters website, and then you have some resources that each project will show you. So every level you get to, it will show you download the project checklist, download the evaluation resource. So what you're looking for at this point is the evaluation resource. So when you click on that link, it will download the document for you. When you download that document, it's fillable. You have to open it. Please bear in mind that all those master's documents are fillable using Adobe Chrome on your laptops. If you try using them on your phone, you might have challenges. So I really recommend that anytime you are doing your project and downloading your materials to fill, use a laptop to avoid any stresses. So now that you have downloaded the evaluation resource, you would always find, and each evaluation resource is unique to each project. So you can't download it once and intend to use it for all projects, because in each evaluation resource, you'll find specific things. So I would like to share my, okay, AD is sharing the screen. Thank you so much, AD. That was very preemptive. So
you can share it. Sorry, you can share yours if yours is specific to what you want to present. So that I just dropped mine.
Oh no, this is fine. This also answers it, so that's fine.
All right.
This is how all the evaluation forms look like. The difference is for all evaluation forms, the purpose statement would change to suit what the project is asking you for. So if you look here on the first page, it says evaluation form, high performance leadership, first speech. So if you go to your next project, it will still say evaluation form, but whatever that project is and whatever it's looking for you to do, that is what would be there. So it won't always be high performance leadership, because once you are done, so in this form, AD is sharing the evaluation resource for his first speech for high performance leadership. So the next level would indicate on the evaluation resource. Then you come to the next step, which is your member name and then date. So you put in your name and then the date at which you'll be delivering your speech, and then your evaluator name. Usually you would know, you'll be told who your evaluator is. Albert, our VP, will let you know who your evaluator is. So it's your responsibility to fill out that portion with the name of the evaluator. And then you see the speech length. Different projects' speeches have different lengths. Generally, you'll find a lot of speeches 5 to 7 minutes, but you realize that your icebreaker speech will be 4 to 6 minutes. And then there are certain levels of speeches that will give you like 50 minutes of speech or presentation. So you have to look at what your evaluation resource for the project you are on is saying to help you develop your speech. So this particular speech is 5 to 7 minutes. You know that you don't have to do 4 pages, 5 pages of speech. Maximum a page and a half or 2 would be enough for you to deliver a speech at regular pace for 5 to 7 minutes. So these are areas that you should look at when you are developing. Then your speech title comes. You realize that in here, AD Peter has put in the Speakathon. That is not his speech title. You have to give all your speeches a title. So for instance, your icebreaker speech could be the most interesting thing about Z. If that is your icebreaker speech, that's the title I'm giving the speech, even though it's icebreaker. So at the speech title, you don't put the project there and say it's my icebreaker speech. You put the title of the speech you're going to deliver. So I'm giving an icebreaker speech. If I'm giving an icebreaker speech, which is about myself, it depends on what I want to talk about myself. I would give a title that is catchy and I'll put it in here. Now that I've put in the speech title, I'm looking at the purpose statement. The purpose statement will give you an idea what the speech is being asked to do, what you're being asked to do for this project. Usually you see here, it says the purpose of this project is for the member to apply his or her leadership and planning knowledge to develop a project plan, organize a guidance committee, and implement the plan with the help of a team. The purpose of the first speech is for the member to introduce his or her plan and vision. So it's telling you that the speech is not for you to come and tell us what you have learned on the portal during your project, the slides. No, you're not going to say, oh, so I learned this, that, and there's a no. The speech is saying that you have to develop a project plan, organize a guidance committee,
and implement the plan. Now, this 5 to 7 minute speech is for you to come and share in 5 to 7 minutes what your plan is and the vision for that plan. And that is exactly what your speech has to do. So your evaluator would receive this resource from you. You are responsible as the speech giver to send your evaluation resource to your evaluator. And all the time, the VPE will connect you to the evaluator a day or two before your speech so that he has this resource. And you can discuss with your evaluator any other thing that you want your evaluator to consider or look at for you during the speech. So now when the evaluator has this resource, they know that, okay, this is what they are being asked to do. So when you're delivering your speech and it's not meeting the purpose statement of the project, then the evaluator will know how to give you feedback for you to redo the speech at another meeting or redo it for a subsequent or further progress on your pathway. So now there are some notes for the evaluator, and this is for the evaluator to understand what he or she should be doing in terms of evaluation for you, in addition to any other thing that you may tell the evaluator to look out for. So for instance, when I'm submitting such an evaluation resource to an evaluator, yes, the purpose statement is there, but I might tell the evaluator that, oh, I tend to speak very fast, and I know I do, I tend to speak very fast there. So can you also assess me on how fast I spoke, whether I went at a good pace and I was able to vary my tone? So in as much as the purpose statement is being evaluated, the evaluator will give me an add-on evaluation on how well I did in the way I presented, whether I spoke too fast and I may have missed points and people may not have been able to follow, or I did really well on that. Then it helps me know that I'm making progress or I need to work on it some more. So that is what it is. So these notes say about this speech, it tells the member is completing this project and this, that. About this speech, the member will deliver a well thought out plan and an organized, engaging speech. The speech may be any style, and then the speech should not be a report on the content of the high performance leadership project. No, it should really be based on the purpose statements given for that project. I want to pause briefly here and see if there are any questions from you on any of this before I move to the last bit, because those are a bit more on the evaluation side. Anyone has a question on anything I have shared so far? Okay, so I will take the silence as affirmation that everybody is on point. So let's go. So now this side is for the evaluator to fill. It's not your problem. The evaluator is going to fill these parts and then send it back to you after your speech so that you can see what the evaluator has put in there for you. Even though during the meeting and after your speech, the evaluator will be called upon to give a 2 to 3 minutes verbal feedback on what you've done. So you'll find elements of what the evaluator would have mentioned to you during that evaluation time or at the meeting in here in the document, but this would be an add-on. So the evaluator may add a bit more details because the verbal evaluation is only 2 to 3 minutes and they may not be able to capture everything in details. This will also could also be exactly what they said, just for your copy and for your uploading onto the portal. So AD is putting in some possible evaluation feedback that you might receive. So the first is you excel that. So this is judging what you did very well in during your speech and based on the purpose of the speech. You started with a powerful introduction. Your speech title was very appropriate with your speech topic or your speech content. I believe that is what it meant. So this is what you did well. Then it will move on to the second part. You may want to work on. The evaluator at this point is going to give you areas that you need to improve on to even make you better in delivering projects and speeches. So sorry, somebody's mic is unmuted. So you may want to work on using pauses when transitioning. So for instance, there are a lot of us who use filler words when we want to transition, or we just keep talking throughout and we don't see the points at which we transition into the next subject. Let me give an example. So I'm saying you started with a powerful introduction. Your speech title was very appropriate with speech topic. You may want to work on using pauses when transitioning. I didn't give any pause. So that transition from what you excelled in to what you may want to work on may become blur to whoever is listening. So what I can do better in that regard is saying, you started, yes, please give me 1 second. Yes, housekeeping coming. Oh, no, thank you. I don't need cleaning today. Yes. No, I think 2 bottles of water will be great. Thank you. So sorry, guys. So the example I was going to use was, you started it with a powerful introduction. Then your speech title was very appropriate with your speech content. Now, what you may want to work on is, or what you may want to work on are, then I go on using pauses, briefly including the names of your team members and their roles, etc., etc. So that is an example of it. So whatever it is that you need to do better at, your evaluator will give you feedback on, so that next time you can use that feedback to better your project and your speeches. Then the third aspect is to challenge yourself. So your evaluator may think that, okay, you might have given a speech that's in your comfort zone. So for instance, I remember, thank you. I remember I attended one meeting where someone gave a speech. The person is in the medical field and is into research. And they gave a speech, a very beautiful, excellent presentation on viruses or something. And it was so good. And she had such great feedback from her evaluator. But one thing that the evaluator said for her to challenge herself was that because she is in the medical research field, that presentation may have come to her easily. She always does research. She's in the medical field. So this is something that she does on a day-to-day basis. So the evaluator suggested that she tries to present or explore topics that may be out of her comfort zone, so that she can try challenging herself with such topics. And I found that evaluation I remember till now, because I took that evaluation as if it was to me. And I'm like, yeah, I think sometimes I find myself in my comfort zone a lot. I could speak on topics that interest me or I'm passionate about. But what if I venture into areas that I may not be an expert in, maybe in tech, in finance and accounting, something around it, and try to do a project on it and see how well I do it, challenging myself. So it started to help me start to look at my projects differently. So this is for me to say, use every avenue you get to learn. Even when you are not delivering a speech, the feedback that is coming at every Toastmasters meeting you attend is important, and you can take something out of that meeting to better yourself in terms of your communication pathway. The other thing I want to add on to this is, always take evaluation as suggestions. Sometimes evaluators are human beings too. And so they are giving you feedback based on their discretion, which is usually great feedback. But do not feel like you've got to incorporate everything that the evaluator has said at once in your next speech. No, you can take one piece of an advice and utilize it for a period of time and see how well you do over time and move on to the next. I'm just encouraging you to use this in a way that works for you, not take it hook, line, and sinker and just go along with it. The next aspect of this is the numerical evaluation. And this is where your evaluator will just assign numbers to different aspects of your speech. And these are always graded. So clarity, how well you spoke, the evaluator will grade. And where it is highlighting now is the definition or the legends that tells us what each numerical value stands for. So when you get a 1, it means that you are now developing, you are really beginning. And when you get a 5, it means you've gotten to a very exemplary stage. But it's always good to know that regardless of what numerical value you get for anything, the point taken from this particular assessment is that the room for improvement is the biggest room in this world, because there's always room for improvement. So even if you get 5, there's room for improvement. And when you get 1, do not feel discouraged. It means you've got a lot more room to explore and get better. And you'll see how beautiful that goes. So there's clarity. We'll look at your clarity, your vocal variety. And these numerical values also are things you can look at when preparing. So when you're preparing for your speech, you are looking at how am I speaking? So stand in the mirror, deliver your speech, see how clear you speak, how you vary your tone, how you make eye contact with yourself, how you use your gestures, how you are aware of the audience. So you can imagine the group of people you are speaking to and whether you're engaging them and whether you are responding to the physical cues or the verbal cues they may be giving you as you're delivering your speech. It's a whole thing. And then in the comment sections, just like AD is saying, some evaluators may give you some comments just to help you understand why they give you a particular numerical value. So if they give you a 3, they may say you kept a monotonous voice. So throughout your delivery, your voice was flat. There was no, so when you showed, oh, so the person was so sound. You didn't use that. I was so excited when I got the news. And then I went on to continue doing this. So I varied my tone in those areas. Your evaluator may, not every evaluator may do that, but I encourage you, if you get your evaluation resource back and you don't have some comments in there, feel free to go back to your evaluator and say, can you please give me a few comments on these particular ones where you graded me this, that, so that I can learn from it. Always ask for feedback if it doesn't come to you naturally. So this is all about your evaluation resource. And at this point, yes, this bottom here just explains all the different categories that the numerical evaluation provides, and it helps you also prepare for your speech. So thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to take it. And if I've missed anything, AD, please feel free to fill in for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Presido. You've done a stellar job. Plaudits to you. It was very concise and detailed. So we'll take the questions for Presido's delivery, and we will now move on to actually preparing the speech, writing the speech. Where do you get the ideas from? How do you start? And so on. So if you have any questions on the evaluation aspect, kindly ask now. Or as you go along, if you have any questions, you can also indicate that in the chat. So in the next 20 minutes, because this meeting is supposed to end at 11 at most. So I would briefly ask TM Pumaya. I'm putting him on the spot. TM Pumaya is a seasoned Toastmaster. He's been with Orators for a while. He's delivered a number of speeches. I've actually evaluated one of his speeches before, and he did amazingly well. I would want TM Maya to tell us how he goes about drafting his speech. How does he plan? Where does he get the ideas from? Does he write them on a paper? Just so we have an idea of how some people deliver or plan their speeches. So TM Moya, if you can hear me and if you're able to speak, I'll give you 5 minutes. Then TM Car will take the rest of the meeting. So TM Maya, the floor is yours.
All right. Good morning. Toastmasters. Please, am I audible?
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you very much for putting me on the spot. I always say that table topics are my favorite. So this is like maybe something that I love. But then I just hope that I'm able to speak to the topic appropriately. So on the issue of preparing your speech, personally, how I go about it is I don't take it too seriously, you know. I understand I have a deadline, but I just let the speech find me, if that makes sense. So I go about my normal day, you know, trying to think of ideas that I can actually use. So sometimes I start with a topic, you know, just because I need to reach out to my evaluator so that they can have my records ready while they also prepare towards the meeting. And if I am to wait for when I'm ready with my speech before I get a title, I may be making it a bit difficult for both of us, especially my evaluator. So I start off by trying to find a topic, you know, based on the short course that you have taken on the, what's it called? Base camp. So the topic or the speech will definitely have a mission. There's something that you're trying to achieve with that particular speech. For instance, for your icebreaker is basically to give an insight of who you are, what you do, and probably what you intend to achieve by being a member of Toastmasters. So when given a topic like this or a project like this, it's a matter of looking within yourself and finding a suitable story that would give everybody a better impression of who you are as a person, maybe what you do, and a bit of history about you and what led you to where you are now as a Toastmaster who probably is in it to better your public speaking or leadership skills. So the first thing to look at, what I do is to look at the the project. The project will give you an idea of what you should cover within your speech. Based on that, I then try to think of personal experience that I can use to relay the message or to achieve the objectives of that particular project. For instance, when I was to give my project on mentorship, I thought of a title and sent to my evaluator whilst I worked on a story or a storyline. So I quickly went back to how I joined Toastmasters and how TM Papa Test has always been there, always motivating me to attend different meetings within or without my own club and also try to perform roles. So I found a very interesting way of putting my relationship with Papa Test over the years into perspective and wrote something down. But personally, I'm not comfortable writing down my speech. It puts me in a box. So just the general brainstorming process of putting my thoughts in place and putting down some pointers to help me prepare for the speech. And one of the best ways I think is to prepare in the most unprofessional way, if that's the right way to put it. You don't set an alarm to say that, okay, at 12 p.m. today, I'm going to rehearse my speech. Then exactly at 12, you start rehearsing your speech. Your speech has to be internalized. It's something that you can be rehearsing whilst you are cooking, you are doing your dishes, you are bathing, you are walking, you are even working. This is the best way to actually practice your speech so that it comes off as more natural, not like a rehearsed speech that feels like a robot reading something back to us. So to summarize how I prepare, first of all, I look at what the project requires of me. Quickly think of a title, which is subject to change anyway. Then try to find a personal story, something that I have lived through, an experience that I have had that would be a nice way to actually deliver on the objectives of that particular um, project, and then use every little opportunity that I get to practice. So when I'm walking, when I'm taking a walk, when I'm at the gym, wherever, I'm just rehearsing, trying to find very creative ways of varying my vocal variety and all the other things that I know my evaluator is going to be looking out for. So I think it basically depends on you. Some people are more comfortable writing down the whole speech, then they read it to us. Others are comfortable with getting an idea, then build it up through constant practice while taking note of the time that you would have to deliver the speech. But first of all, just go through the objectives of that particular project, get a topic, rehearse as much as possible, and keep your time in check. And also be in touch with your evaluator. Let your evaluator know what you are particularly working on and what he or she should look out for once you're giving the speech. And once you have all those things together, I think you will be able to give a good enough speech, get good evaluation, and then be able to incorporate the feedback into your next speech. So I'll hand over the baton to you, AD, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much also for the insight. And what I've taken away from TM Umaya is feel free to plan your speech according to your own style, whether you want to write It depends on it. I, for instance, I love to write. So writing comes easy to me. I prefer to write. And I also agree with him about internalizing the speech. When you do that, what happens is that you don't need to now hold a sheet of paper in front of you while delivering your speech, because you have internalized it. You know what you are going to say in the introduction, you know what you are going to say in the body, and you know which example you are going to give to it. Because you've thought about it for a long time, it becomes part of you. But as a beginner, don't worry if you need to actually refer to some notes. As time goes on, you will definitely improve on that skill. So just a tip, if you want to use notes, I learned that instead of getting a sheet of paper, rather get sticky notes. If you get a sticky note and maybe you write a point on each sheet, it is better than writing everything and holding it in front of you. You might be tempted to read it line by line. But if you actually jot down your ideas or the examples you have on different pieces of paper, it becomes easy, so that once you are done, you read the line, you have the chance to actually look at your audience and deliver the speech. If you forget your next line, all you need to do is just look at the next idea you have on the next sticky note and you move on. So that will be it. And at this point, we would have PQD Cal come and give us some general tips, what to consider, how do you get your ideas, just go a bit in depth into actually preparing the speech. But before that, I would remind us of the task that we have. The task is we are to deliver 2 speeches in our next meeting. Each person, 2 speeches in our next meeting. Therefore, what you need to do is first go to Basecamp. So I'm going to demonstrate. Or what you need to do is once you get to Basecamp, you open the project. And since everyone has agreed to have accessed it previously, I just want to show you how to pick the projects which you are going to work on. So I'm opening a level 1 project. Good. So what you see on your screen, you have level 1. Then the first project is icebreaker. The second project is writing a speech with purpose. Then the third project is introduction to vocal variety and body language. So for the purpose of our task, we are going to, that is if you're on level 1, we are going to do icebreaker and writing a speech with a purpose, meaning from now till next week, you should have read this project, written your speech for the icebreaker, and also do the same thing for writing a speech with purpose. It might look like a lot of work, but this is just to get you in the mood, to help you appreciate the process of actually writing a speech. So don't be too hard on yourself if you don't feel your speech is ready yet. Just read the project and try and follow suit to the end. If you're on level 2 or level 3, your current project that you are yet to deliver, you do that project and the following project after that. So I, for instance, I'm on level 5. I'll be doing 2 speeches. I have a first speech and a second speech. So that's what you can see here, level 5, prepare to speak professionally. I'll do this project and I need to do another project. So I just move to the next available project, which will be an elective project. So I would personally draft 2 speeches and deliver it in a meeting. So I will stop sharing my screen and invite PQD Cal to just give us some tips on writing a speech, just to help all of us. So TM Cal, the floor is yours. You are not audible. I can't hear you. It seems your screen is frozen, or is it mine?
I think my network went off.
Okay. Yeah, you're audible now. Yes.
Awesome. Right. So I was saying that I'm excited to do this for two reasons. The first reason is that we have a lot of experienced speakers already on this platform. So my job is very easy. And then the second point is that a lot of what I'm going to talk about has already been spoken about by other speakers. So it makes it very easy. What I want us to do is to be as interactive as possible. Kumaya has done an amazing job sharing how he goes about his process. And I'll be happy to hear from anybody else, Albert, anybody else, on how you also go about preparing for your speech. So essentially, a lot of what we'll be doing is preparing for projects, but then we'll be delivering them. So if I get some input from other people on the call on how to prepare your speech as well.
TM Carl, it seems your voice is a bit low. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but I don't know if anyone, yeah, audible, but it seems a bit low. TM Albert, are you able to hear TM Carl?
Is it better?
It's better now. Yes, it's better now. Yes, it's better now.
Okay. Power of technology. Thank you very much. So just to recap what I said, I'm looking for volunteers to help me share how speeches are prepared, because everybody has their process. So Umaya has shared his process. He literally gets ideas even when he's in the gym or maybe he's asleep. To Albert and Liz, how do you get ideas for your speeches?
Well, okay, Albert, go ahead.
So let's go ahead.
All right, thank you, Albert. It's a very interesting question because for me, as I have a lot of very adventurous experiences. I'm a very adventurous person. So I guess I already have like a storehouse of adventures. So as I'm on Basecamp going through my project and I'm learning, I'm like, oh, it starts to connect to an adventure I may have had or some experience, some strange experience I might have had somewhere. And I'm like, oh, this is what my speech is going to be. So for me, usually by the time I'm even through with going through my learning on Basecamp for a particular project, I have an idea what my speech is. My speech is all halfway done. So I come out of that learning knowing at least my introduction and my ending. Because I know something about them. I take some time to build up the body and try to put the entire story in a way that can be presented in a few minutes. So that's how I do get my ideas.
That really helps. That really helps. Thank you so very much. So to the new members, anything that you might have gone through, any place you might have stepped in, presents a unique opportunity for you to share your experience through your various projects to the audience that will be listening to you. Thank you so much, Liz. Albert.
Right. For me, I would want to begin by making it a bit more practical. When I began giving my speeches as a Toastmaster, I had a challenge, and this was a challenge. I realized that whenever we are, especially when you are going to club contests, people are giving very nice speeches, and I didn't know where that was coming from. And I felt, oh, the speech or the story that I'm going to coin is not going to be that relevant to others because others have gone through some fair share of experiences, right? More than I have. And that got me confused. But with time, I realized that, hey, even the little experience that I have, the little encounter that I have gotten, I can make them into a impactful speech. And that was when I realized what is the impact that I seek to lay to my audience. And when I find that impact, what I want to, at the end, how I want to drive my message home to my audience, then I would tap into the experience of every story, every encounter that I've gone into, and then I make sure that I link them to relay that kind of impact that I want. So for example, if it is a speech contest or it's a normal speech that I'm giving, I want my audience members to be left encouraged, to be left empowered at the end of my speech. Then I know I have a story, what I went through, and I believe that what made me empowered, what really encouraged me at the end. Then I would coin that experience, or I will wrap my story around that experience, and then I will share that story with my audience members. I want to make sure that every speech that I'm giving, I have a goal, I have an aim, I have a target that I want to relay to the audience. So in as much as I'm doing that, I'm enjoying the process and I'm learning through that as well. The end, I want to enjoy it as much as I can. I want to learn from it as much as I can. So that's the process I go through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Albert. So you have spoken about your process and you take a lot of consideration, or you take a lot into consideration, especially on the relevance of your speech to the audience that you are speaking to. Then you draw from your own personal experiences and encounters. But then one question you keep asking yourself is, what is my message and what do I want to leave my audience with? To those of us new members preparing our speech, you would have to tie this last bit, your message and what you want to leave your audience with, to the purpose of your speech. Because all through the various presentations we've had, we get to know that the speech purpose, which is the purpose for your project, you should not deviate from that purpose. Otherwise, you wouldn't have met the criteria for that project. And so your message and what you want to leave your audience with should align with your speech purpose. I can see that we also have Maoli on the call. Maoli, how is your process like? In preparing for your speeches? Hi, Maoli, are you able to talk? Can you unmute and let's hear you? How do you prepare for your speeches? In the meantime, I want us to remember when we probably were in JSS or primary school. There was one thing that we kept doing. We kept writing essays. And the essays had this, whoever, I don't know which school you went to. Maybe you went to a better school than I did, but when the teacher is marking, there's this criteria that he or she always uses. Can you help me with it? When they are marking your essay, you used to write these letters and then they give you marks against those letters. Or you guys didn't have that?
You went to a better school, so you had that.
So there was E, which was for expression. You don't have that. Then there was O for organization. And then there was C for content. And then I think there was MA for mechanical accuracy. Are you telling me you guys didn't see this?
Hey, JHS, and they are giving you this. We didn't go to.
But this is how they marked the VEC. Anyway, whatever format your teacher had, you have written essays all through your life. So you understand how to put together any piece of work that portrays a message. Or to our new members, I haven't even heard any of them speak. Renee, you saw this somewhere.
Yes, please.
Why are you quiet? Esther, you saw this somewhere. And Tifosua, you probably saw this somewhere. Now, the main idea I'm trying to project here is that you know how to put together a body of work that presents an idea. But when you get onto a stage, it becomes a different ballgame. Fine, the ideas still remain, but in this instance, your language changes because written English differs a little from spoken English. The way you address an audience when it is written differs from how you address them when you are speaking to them. The pace you use differs. The volume you use differs. The expressions that you use may not carry a lot of weight on paper, but would carry more weight when you are speaking to them using your face and your gestures. So in the process of delivering a speech, there are other things that come to play. But here we are still sticking to getting the speech together. And a very simple format that everybody probably has already spoken about is the 3-tier: your introduction, your body, and your conclusion. We've already gotten how we get the ideas from adventures, from experiences, and knowing the relevance of our speeches. One of the things I learned from Peter when I joined Toastmasters was he had, I don't know whether, Peter, you still have it. He has this bank where he does a mind mapping for projects 10 years into the future. Just, I'm exaggerating. But then he puts different ideas and story points for different speeches. So that if you are walking, like Liz likes an adventure, she goes to Kakum and she's on the canopy and enjoying, and she sees a rat or a mouse, whatever, he can decide to put it in his next 2 speeches to relate to a story that he's going to talk about. Then that becomes sort of an idea bank. So what you can do is to put an idea or story bank that will help you to draw from anytime you want to give a speech. There's stories happening around us all the time. And so you can have an idea or a story bank where you put your stories and your ideas, not necessarily tied to a speech, but a place where you can easily refer to and then relate it to whichever project or speech you are giving, if the stories in those ideas. Now, another thing that you can also consider is planning your speeches out. So it's great that we are doing this for 2 projects. The first project is telling everybody about yourself. And usually this is the easiest thing to do because you interact with yourself each and every day. You are in your head all the time. So knowing that we have an idea or a story bank, and knowing that people relate very well to our stories especially, and stories of others, your speech first should have purpose. In planning your speech, you don't necessarily always have to start with your introduction, but we have to remember that our introduction, our intro, our body, and our conclusion should be present. But you don't necessarily have to start writing your story from the intro. Why you start is from the purpose of your speech. Another way you can start is from the conclusion. In your conclusion, you have to always make sure that you bring in a call to action. CTA is your call to action. At the end of the day, what do you want your audience to do? Do you want them to share the knowledge? Do you want them to go out there and do something? Do you want them to sit and reflect over what you said so that they plan their lives better? It's always important to end your speeches with a call to action. So my call to action to you this morning is, in planning your speech, everybody is different. We all go through different processes in putting our speeches and our messages together. But one thing that runs through is that we all have adventures, we all have experiences, and we all have ideas and stories. You may not have the opportunity all the time to sit down and remember everything that happened that relates to the project you are doing. So from today, even from this meeting, put down a couple of ideas and thoughts, not necessarily geared towards any particular speech, but put them down and tag them in such a way that you are always going to be able to find them when you need them. Then you would also put together, when you're putting together your speeches, you can easily refer to them, understanding that you are going through a flow of an introduction, a body, and a conclusion, ending with something for the audience to take away from them, to take away with them. Also, please note that your your whole speech in itself is a story. And so when you are presenting it and you have maybe one idea changing into another, find a very good way to link those ideas, however unrelated they may be, so that you don't put your audience off, but then you keep them following your story from the beginning right onto the end. I think we all have different processes that we go through in our speeches, and it would be great to hear from other people on how they go through their processes as well. But don't sway from the purpose of the project, and make sure if you not leave this meeting with anything, start an idea or a story back. It's always much easier to begin your speeches when you already have something to fall on. Thank you very much, and over to you, Eddie.
Thank you very much for leading this session. That was a wonderful presentation. We've learned a lot, and we hope that we would use whatever that we've shared during this session. I wouldn't take much of our time. We've done 4 minutes past 11. So I would conclude by saying that there was one thing that TM Carl said. He said that the written speech is different from the spoken one. That is, the written English is different from spoken English. And that is to say that your speech may look good on paper, but your delivery may not be that good. So what I usually do is when I'm writing the speech, I actually picture my audience. And TM Kumaya said that you need to involve or internalize it. So when I'm writing a speech, when I'm writing a point, I think about how would my audience react to this sentence I've made or this sentence I'm going to deliver. And at this point, should I pause or should I up my voice? Once you do that, the speech becomes lively. So it makes it easy for you to actually draft your speech, because as you go along, you know exactly what you are expecting your audience to feel. So put a lot of emotions in your speech. Just relax, take your time, think about what you have in mind that you want us to know, and just outline how you are going to do that. And that would be it. So we are 5 minutes after 11. I would at this point ask for questions. If there are any questions or clarifications, we'll take them and we'll call this meeting to a close. So I'll give ourselves just a minute. If we do not have anyone asking questions or clarifications, then we can get to work for our Speakathon, which will be coming on. That's our first Speakathon. Remember, we are hoping to complete a whole level, and a level is at least 4 projects. So at this point, we would go and plan for our speeches. And if you have any difficulties, you can reach out to any of us. The platform, the WhatsApp platform is also there for us to engage. So any difficulty you have, do not hesitate to reach out. So we have 20 seconds more. I'm not seeing any question in the chat. I'm not seeing any hand. Renee, do you want to speak? I think I saw you on mute. It looks like we are all comfortable. Okay, sure. Renee, you have a question?
I'll say no, I don't actually
Okay,
have a question.
that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Toastmaster Esther, do you have a question? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so Toastmaster Esther, kindly go ahead. Then after that, Fosua would. Yes.
Good morning, team.
Good morning.
The evaluation form. So anytime, if I understand you well, anytime I want to present a speech, I'll have to fill that form and send to the evaluator before the meeting.
Exactly. So you indicate your name, you indicate the date of the club meeting that you are going to deliver the speech in. Then if you do have the evaluator's name, you indicate it there. But if you do not know the evaluator's name, you can just leave it blank. So in order not to in order not to be so confused about it, the easiest method is that once you have your evaluation sheet, you can even forward it to your VP, because your VP who arranged the slots for you knows who your evaluator is going to be. So the easiest route is, once you have your evaluation sheet, just forward a copy to your VPE, then your VPE will forward it to your evaluator. But definitely you have to get in touch with your evaluator. But just so everyone is on the same page, and technology fails us all the time and so on, just give a copy to your VPE. But to the question that you asked, yes, you need to fill in your name and the evaluator's name, and just push that to the evaluator. Don't fill the form proper. The form where it's asking about what did you excel in, that is the job of your evaluator to do that. Yours is just to indicate the header information about your speech title and so on, and just forward to your evaluator. I hope that is clear.
Yes. So the speech that we are going to give next Sunday, God willing, have to fill for me sing before Sunday.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So all you need to do is just go ahead and plan your speech, draft your speech. Once you get in touch with the VP and the VP informs you that, okay, you are the second speaker and your evaluator is going to be TM Carl, that is the point which you will forward the evaluation sheet to the evaluator. So you don't need to worry your head at the beginning. You don't have to look for the evaluator. The evaluator will be made available to you. Then all you need to do is forward a copy via WhatsApp, or if the person prefers it via mail, you forward it via mail, and that settles it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You are welcome. Fosia, let's have your question and we can call this meeting to a close.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. Please, so I want to be sure about something. So you're saying that in our next meeting, we are going to do two speeches, which is the first one is the icebreaker, where we are going to give a speech about ourselves, right?
Yes.
And then the second one, does it mean that the second one?
Sorry, you were breaking. Sorry, you were breaking. You were asking about the second one. If you can take the question again.
Yeah. So I'm asking that, which is about ourselves. But then the second one, does it mean we are going to write on anything?
Exactly. So the second one, if you actually read the project, it gives you the liberty to choose a topic of your choice. You see, the first one, the first one, which is the icebreaker, is the first speech any Toastmaster gives. The purpose is for you to introduce yourself to the club. So if you actually read the project, you actually get this understanding that your icebreaker is supposed to be a speech about yourself. When you read the next project, which is write a speech with a purpose, the project itself will teach you how to write a speech with a purpose, what to consider for such a speech. If you are writing a speech for a particular purpose, then at the end of the project, it will now give you the task to write a speech with a purpose, a speech of your choice, whether it's supposed to be informative, it's supposed to be entertaining, it's supposed to be motivational. It is up to you. But what you need to do is that speech that you're going to draft should actually reflect the various tenets of the project. So if the project said that if you're writing a speech with a purpose, you need to maybe repeat your points at least 3 times in the speech. Then once you are developing your speech, you need to ensure that at various points, it contains at least some repetition of your main idea. So it's simply using whatever you've learned in writing a speech with a purpose to actually write a speech with a purpose. And the topic that you would choose depends on you. No one is going to give you the topic. The project wouldn't give you a topic that write about the day your favorite auntie visited you, gave you a surprise visit, or you would choose what you want to talk about. But at the end of the day, it should be a speech with a purpose. I hope that's clear. Okay, seems Fusua can't hear me, but that is the session that TM, Carl, and ourselves went through about where do you get your ideas from, what do you do. It applies to every project. It's just about making sure that the relevant project statement or goal is achieved. So thank you very much. This session has been recorded, and I'll share the link in the page so that if you need to refer to any section during this meeting, you'll be able to. I'll thank everyone once again, especially my team members, that's TM Carl, TM Albert, and TM Elizabeth. And we are hoping to have a beautiful marathon with our Speakathon this coming Sunday. Thank you very much, and we'll continue discussions on the group as and when. So have a beautiful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, AD. This was helpful. Thank you, team. And thanks, guys, for showing up. And I believe it was helpful for you. See you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.